Tampa has changed so much these past few years that parts of it are unrecognizable. My family and I first moved here in 2005, so that's 17 years ago. I can't believe how much has changed since then. We are a family of 6, and at the time we were pretty young and we needed a large house, so we moved to an area called Land O'Lakes, which is a town just north of Tampa. At that time, Land O'Lakes was super rural, and everyone was always surprised that we lived there. But my, how things have changed. Now, Land O'Lakes has exploded. There are new communities everywhere in Land O'Lakes. There's new apartments, new townhomes, new restaurants. The roads have been widened. It has just really, really grown. And that is holding true for not only Land O'Lakes, but pretty much everywhere in the Tampa Bay area because so many people are moving here, which got me to thinking that I have not done an updated video for my pros and cons in quite some time. And since Tampa has changed so much these past few years, I think my pros and cons list has probably changed as well. So if you're considering moving to Tampa and you want to know if it's the right place for you, then stay tuned. Did you know that Tampa is number 3 on the list of cities that people want to move to in the US? That is pretty amazing, and that helps explain why we're getting so many people moving here. Bloomberg said that over 150 people a day are moving here, and I think that figure is actually dated because I think that was pre-COVID. As you know, many things have changed with the pandemic, and one of them being the fact that people can work remotely more than they ever could before. So consequently, people have decided, if I can work from home and my boss doesn't care where I live, then why don't I live where I want to live? And so many people have dreamed of moving to Florida but haven't been able to do it in the past, and now they can. And I think that's part of the reason that we're seeing this explosive growth. This growth is not expected to slow down anytime soon. In fact, a lot of the experts that I follow are saying it's going to continue through 2025. So, of course, Tampa is going to continue changing, and there are going to be some struggles and pains with that, as you would expect. While a smaller city kind of grows into a larger city, there's going to be some growing pains. So I wanted to cover some of these pros and cons because it got me to thinking, why are so many people moving here? What are they seeing as the pros to moving to Tampa? And what are some of the cons that maybe these people aren't thinking about? So people that I work with these past few years that have moved here, I see they're mostly coming from California, New York, Ohio, New Jersey, Chicago, Washington. You know, all of these states, a lot of them have things in common, like the weather's not the greatest, and also some high tax states is we're seeing a lot of people flee from those high tax states. But those are usually the main 2 pros that people cite when they're talking about why they're moving to Tampa. But I'm going to go into detail about some others as well. So let's get to it. So I'm going to go through 6 pros and 6 cons as to why people want to or maybe don't want to move to Tampa. My number 1 pro for living in the Tampa Bay area after 17 years is still definitely the weather. Now we do have some hot summers, which will make my cons list for sure, but the rest of the year is fantastic, and there's not many states where you can spend time outside every day of the year. I don't like the cold and I don't like snow. So for me, Tampa has been fantastic with the exceptional weather that we have. The sun shines almost every day, and you never ever have to worry about shoveling snow. You can just shovel sand instead. So that's why this is my number 1 pro. My number 2 pro for the Tampa Bay area is that there's always something to do. And I think it's that good weather that lends itself to that, because we have a lot of outdoor activities. We have festivals and events going on constantly, and there's something for everyone here in Tampa. We have got music concerts, we've got bars, we've got restaurants, Ybor City has Cigar City down there. So if you like nightlife, you're going to have a vibrant nightlife in both Ybor City and St. Pete. If you like it a little more casual, we've got lots of breweries everywhere. There's literally something going on every day of the year. If you're into fitness and you like to run, there are multiple 5Ks. You could probably run a 5K or a 10K every weekend if you wanted to. There's running groups, biking groups, all kinds of, kayaking groups, stand-up paddleboard, all these outdoor activities that you can enjoy pretty much year-round. So that's why that's number 2 on my list. Number 3 is the fact that we have no state income tax. Now, this has not changed, and it's definitely one of my original pros along with the weather. But I can't tell you how many people I get telling me how much money they're saving on just this one simple thing of having no state income tax. Some states tax your income up to 18%. That's insanity because you still have to pay your federal taxes too. So the fact that we have no state income tax is very desirable, and that's definitely one of the main draws for people wanting to move to Tampa. Number 4 is going to be our beaches. Now, we have some of the best beaches in the entire nation. I would venture to say even in the entire world. I think it's definitely comparable to the Bahamas or Mexico. I mean, our beaches are beautiful. If you haven't seen them firsthand, then you've got to make a trip to Tampa. We've got Clearwater Beach, which is world renowned, and the sand is like sugar. It's white, it's soft, it's beautiful. Everything is nice and clean. We've got lots of smaller beaches down below that if you don't like the loud touristy beaches. St. Pete is kind of at the end of the row here, as you can see on this map, all these little beaches that fall in between Clearwater and St. Pete. These all tend to be a little bit quieter, but there are still some fun touristy things to do in, say, Madeira and Treasure Island, Indian Rocks Beach. But down here at St. Pete, that's going to be another more lively beach. So you've got your choice of beaches, and they are just gorgeous. Number 5 on my list is going to be affordability. Now, the cost of living has definitely gone up these past few years. It has gone up nationwide, though, so that's not just Florida. We still have one of the lowest costs of living in the U.S., so I think that's another big draw for people that want to move here. In general, things are going to be just a little bit cheaper, whether it comes to gas or groceries. Your everyday expenses, for the most part, are going to be a little bit lower here in the Tampa Bay area. And if you're wondering about exact prices of things, I go into a lot more detail in one of my other videos, the cost of living in Tampa. You might want to check that one out. And last but not least is if you are a sports fan, then you are going to love living in Tampa because we have got sports galore. Of course, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who just won the Super Bowl. We are so excited about that. We also made it to the playoffs last year, so we are on a roll. We got Tom Brady back as our quarterback, at least for this last year, and I'm going to go ahead and bet that we at least make the playoffs, and I'm hoping for one more Super Bowl for Tampa Bay. But if football is not your thing and you're more into hockey, we've also got the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are amazing as well, and they have won the Stanley Cup multiple times. Well, if hockey isn't your thing, we've still got you covered because we've also have Major League Baseball with the Tampa Bay Rays, and they are an amazing team. Their stadium is located in St. Pete, Tropicana Field, and it's so fun to go over there and watch their games. They do an amazing job there. Also in St. Pete, if you like car racing, they host the Grand Prix there every year, so if you're into that, you're going to love it. It's pretty exciting. And then, of course, another reason that so many people move here is our golf and the fact that you can play golf here year-round. We've got more golf courses than I can count, and many of them are on the water. The views are just phenomenal, and it's such a fun place to come and play golf. If you like sports of any kind, then I would say that that's a major reason you might want to consider moving to Tampa. You know what? I actually thought of a couple more pros to living in the Tampa Bay area, and another one, a big one, would be job growth. And we have so many companies relocating here to the Tampa Bay area because of our tax advantages for corporations. So that's led to just a lot of job growth as well. We have a really huge presence in the IT world and, of course, in healthcare. There are a lot of jobs available, and that's another good reason to consider moving to Tampa. The other one that I thought of would be our airport. Now, that's not something that a lot of people might think of, but if you like to travel, then this should be important to you, because Tampa International is one of the most beautiful airports I have ever seen. Not only is it beautiful, it's super efficient and so easy to navigate. I've been to a lot of airports, and it really gives me an appreciation for how nice Tampa International really is. So that covers all the pros. So now let's move on to the cons. As I like to say, there are pros and cons to everything, and Tampa Bay is no exception to that. You definitely have some cons that you're gonna want to think about, especially if you're considering moving here. So the number one con, I would say, is although our cost of living has remained relatively low in comparison to other areas, because so many people have moved here these past few years, our rent prices have jumped exponentially. In fact, we're on par with a lot of cities in California. I think we've surpassed a lot of the major cities throughout the United States because we simply don't have enough homes right now. So of course the prices are going to rise with that supply-demand thing that always comes into play. But if you're thinking about moving here and you're planning on renting, you might want to think again. It's definitely cheaper to buy. Rents are ridiculous. Another area where you're going to pay a lot more than other cities in the United States are going to be insurance. Now, whether that's your property insurance or your car insurance, our insurance rates are very high here in Tampa. Now, of course, throughout Florida, insurance is pretty high when it comes to home insurance because we have that threat of hurricanes that's always, a factor. Also, we've got all of this roof fraud that has happened over the years. That's a whole nother video I'll go into, but it has definitely raised the cost of insurance. And then car insurance, I'm not sure why that's so high here in Florida, but it's definitely a lot higher than other states, and it's something you're going to want to factor into your costs when you're moving to Tampa. Now, number two, as I said earlier in my weather section, I am including the hot summers here in the cons. The humidity in the summer is no joke. You are going to want to bring your A game, and you're probably going to spend a lot of time inside throughout the months of July, August, September. But you know what? In my book, it's still better than being cooped up all winter long. And at least you can still go outside. You can be in the water. If you have a pool, you can be in the pool. You can go to the beach. There's still a lot of fun things you can do in the summer. But I'm here to tell you that humidity in the summer is a real thing, and you might want to come here and make sure you can deal with it before you make the move. And number three, I'm kind of combining a couple of things here because I think this is why this is number three, okay? So hear me out here. Our traffic. A lot of people laugh at me when I try to tell them that Tampa has really bad traffic, but then when they get here, they kind of realize that, hey, maybe it's not a joke after all. I mean, it's nothing like California for sure, or New York, but we do still have a traffic problem. And the reason for that is because of all this growth that we've had here recently. The infrastructure just isn't quite ready to support these many people. And the other thing is we have no public transportation. So everyone is driving everywhere. The only public transportation that we really have of any consequence would be buses, and everybody knows how bad that can be, sitting around waiting for a bus, especially if you're talking about in the summertime in Florida. That's not going to happen for most people, and you're only going to take the bus if you absolutely have to and have no other choice. So because there's no public transportation, that has just led to more traffic and more congestion, and nothing really is walkable in the Tampa Bay area. We have very few places that are walkable. Of course, if you live in the downtown area, that's really nice, and around the Riverwalk. If you live in St. Pete, that's pretty walkable. And there are a few little pockets here and there, Safety Harbor, Dunedin, but again, only if you live near downtown. Now, take where I live, for example. I live in Land O'Lakes, north of Tampa. I can't even walk to get groceries or a soda. I've got to drive everywhere because just to get out of my neighborhood is about 2 miles. So no one's going to walk and run errands when you have that far to go. And I do wish that Tampa was a little bit more walkable and that we had some public transportation. It sure would be nice. But these are things that I'm willing to sacrifice to live in this beautiful state. Number 4 would be the constant construction. And again, this is no fault of Tampa's. I mean, when you have people moving here from everywhere and the growth that's happening here, you're going to have construction to improve the infrastructure to support all of this. But I will tell you, when it comes to driving around, it's no fun to have the constant construction. It leads to just more traffic. And then of course, all the neighborhoods that are being built. If you drive through the neighborhoods a lot, like I do in real estate, I'm constantly getting flat tires from all the roofing nails that are left everywhere. So the construction is no fun. I think there's usually a little construction going on everywhere, but I think people are really surprised when they see just how much construction is taking place in Tampa. Number 5 is going to be the lack of really good restaurants. So Tampa has a lot of franchise restaurants. We've got, Chili's and Carrabba's and Olive Garden and all of those franchises everywhere. Multiple. So if you're just looking to go out to eat, there's plenty of restaurants for you to go out to eat at. But if you're looking for authentic, cute, mom and pop type of restaurants, there really aren't that many. You've really got to hunt for them. And if you're looking for 5-star dining, there's really only a few areas that offer that at all. So Tampa is definitely limited in our restaurant choices. I think it's something we could definitely improve upon, particularly in the outlying areas. Now, if you're down in Tampa or you're down in St. Pete, that's not going to hold true. But if you're up in Lutz or Land O'Lakes, try finding a good restaurant is not very easy. And last on my list, and surprisingly probably one that I get asked about the most, is the critters. Yes, we have lots and lots of critters because we have a lot of lakes. We've got a lot of humidity, a lot of nice weather, so there's a lot of animals that go along with that. We've got both great, beautiful, cute animals, and then we also have the scary, yucky animals. So I'm going to dive into that a little bit more because I do always get asked about alligators, of course. I think this is misconception out there that people think, oh, I'm going to get eaten by an alligator, my dog's going to get eaten by an alligator. Does it happen? Yes, occasionally you will hear stories on the news. You've got to remember that the news likes to capitalize on these stories and sensationalize everything. And I've lived here for 17 years and I honestly rarely see alligators. I mean, I might see them off in a distance with their eyes sticking out of the water. And occasionally during mating season, which is like May or June, you might see them walking around. But honestly, I've never felt threatened by an alligator, and they aren't a problem. It's one of those things where if you don't mess with them, they're not going to mess with you. So the other critters that we have that people don't tend to like are bugs. So we've got several different kinds of bugs that you will be dealing with here in Florida, but I'm here to tell you it's not all that bad. So one of the bugs that we do have that people dislike are roaches. As long as you get a pest control service, I'm here to tell you, you're not going to see them in your home. And when we first moved here, we didn't know that we needed to do that, and we did have some roaches that we were seeing. But as soon as we called out a pest control company and had that treated, we haven't seen any roaches inside our home since then. The other bug that we have here are love bugs. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a love bug. They're not like a ladybug. I think some people think it's a ladybug, but it's basically this bug that there's always two of them. They're always mating and they're always flying around together. They're small, they're harmless, they don't bite, and we do have a love bug season. So luckily it's super short. It's only about a week or two. It's typically in the spring and fall. And they come out, in droves during this time. So when you're driving your car, they're just going to be hitting your windshield constantly. They're going to be hitting your bumper. What I want to caution you about is making sure that you get that off of your car as soon as possible, because that does eat away at your paint if you don't clean that regularly. So that is a big nuisance more than anything. They don't hurt you. They will sometimes be flying around and land on you, but they don't bite or anything like that. So just something to be aware of. The other thing that we have are lizards. I know a lot of people are scared of them. When they come here and they see them, they freak out. I personally think they're kind of cute, and they've never done anything to hurt anybody. They're super small. They're only about this big. Some of them are even smaller. And for the most part, they're not going to bother you. Now, if you have a screened-in lanai, you will see them out there because they are small enough to get into those little crevices and holes at the bottom. But for being in your home, you're not really going to see them in your home unless you leave your door open or something. The other thing would be snakes. Now, it's Florida. We have a lot of water. We've got the ideal weather for them. So there are a lot of snakes. Again, just like with the alligators, I rarely see them. Now, sometimes in the summer when I'm out running, I'll see dead snake like on the side of the road. But my house actually backs up to a pond, and I never have any problems with snakes. So we do have some critters that you're gonna have to deal with, but on the flip side, we have some beautiful and cute critters too. So we have a lot of deer here in Tampa, and you're gonna see them everywhere. What I love about what some of these builders have done, especially in these large master planned communities, is they leave a lot of conservation and preserve. And in fact, there's a lot of wetlands they're not even allowed to touch. So I do love that a lot of Tampa is being preserved that way. And in those areas is where you're going to see a lot of deer. They're so beautiful. Another thing that we have a lot of is birds, and we've got some different birds here than you've probably ever seen. One of the most distinct and unique ones that I first noticed when we moved here to Tampa were the sandhill cranes. I had never seen anything like a sandhill crane. I love their red beaks, and I love the fact that they always travel as a family unit. The little babies are so cute when they first hatch, and something really strange about them is the sound that they make. They sound almost like a prehistoric creature, and that's one thing that will surprise you when you hear them talking early in the morning. If you don't know what that is, it can kind of freak you out. But they are so beautiful. And along with that, we've got herons and egrets and eagles and hawks, redbirds and bluebirds and every kind of bird that you can think of. If you like to bird watch, you're gonna love living in Tampa. Another unique thing we've got here is just in random areas, you're gonna see peacocks. I mean, who sees peacocks just out walking around when you're not at the zoo? That's another great thing about Tampa. So we've got, some really kind of scary animals with alligators and snakes, but we've also got some great animals too that make Tampa just a unique place. So if you're thinking about moving to Tampa, I hope that this video has really helped you out, me going over these pros and cons. Hey, listen, if you are thinking about moving here, go ahead and give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email, whichever method of communication you prefer is fine. When it comes to moving to Tampa, I've got your back. I hope that you found this video beneficial, and if you could do me a big favor, hit that little subscribe button, ring the bell, because it really helps me out. I would certainly appreciate it. I hope you liked this, and I'll see you next time.